It appears the fight is still not over with the Coastal Bend and the Texas Windstorm Insurance Association. At a news conference today, the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce, along with other area chambers across the Coastal Bend, announced that TWIA, they plan to raise their rates once again. It was last year, you'll recall, TWIA proposed increasing the rate by 10%, but that was denied by the Texas governor. The main argument, of course, was that South Texas was still recovering from Hurricane Harvey. In August, the board was unable to summon enough votes to secure a rate hike. Now, well, they plan to meet by teleconference to decide whether or not to recommend a rate hike to the board.
We have fought these issues for years and years and years, and unfortunately, I think we're going to have to fight them for a long time to come.
It looks like they've already made their decision. What's happened between August and October? Nothing. The rate should be zero, shouldn't change.
Now, that meeting is happening this Thursday in Austin, and TWIA released this statement saying, quote, TWIA understands the importance of the issue of rates for our coastal communities, policyholders, and other stakeholders, along with making sure that we have the financial capacity to be there for our policyholders when they need us most. We shall see.